Hello, 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 and welcome to the Magic is in You podcast, episode number 13, the podcast designed to empower you to tune in, tap in, and turn on the magic that is already within inside of you so that you can cultivate your life, your business, your relationships authentically, fully, truly from a place of feeling filled up, fueled up within yourself first. My name is Kelsey Holmes, and I am the life and mindset coach behind the magic is in you. And I am so fucking excited that you are here today for episode number 13. Holy smokes. Today is a very special episode because I have the second guest to the Magic is in You podcast coming on. I am so freaking excited to share Fritz Macasa with you. It is such an incredible interview. We dive in to Fritz's life, Fritz's journey, and how she went from the lowest point in her life, as she describes it 2 years ago, to transforming not just her business, but herself from the inside out. Fritz and I were actually in a mastermind together a few years ago, and I have watched her just completely transformed, literally from the inside out, from her relationships to her relationship with herself, her relationship with her body. She's exploded her business in the last couple of years. And I'm so excited to share this conversation with you today because yes, we talk about Fritz's business and how much it's grown, but we really dive into how she has transformed herself so that she can show up like the powerful fucking badass that she is in her business, as she is I'm just so freaking excited. But before we dive into today's interview, I want to let you know that the Allowing workshop, somatic release workshop, is still happening. We had to postpone it last weekend because we had some mass power outages here in Northwest Montana, and I could not get connected to the internet to host the Zoom. So we have rescheduled it for Tuesday, December 3rd. This is going to be a powerful somatic release workshop to allow you to tune and tap in to your body so that you can allow your emotions to flow so that you can show up powerfully, authentically in your business, in your life. And I'm so fucking excited. It's going to be such a fun workshop. I hosted my very first in-person workshop a week and a half ago, and I am still on a high from it. It was so fucking fun. It was so transformative. It was so magical. The women who showed up so vulnerably, authentically, full-heartedly, and really allowed themselves to tune and tap and turn on their magic. They have both taken massive strides in their life and businesses, like literally launching a business in this last week and a half, and having the power to tap back into what we did in this workshop in person was so helpful for them, as they have been adventuring on these grand new expansive adventures, but also feel scary as fuck at the same time. So the Allowing workshop is going to be a super powerful workshop for you to get out of your head, out of overthinking, overwhelm, and back into your body so that you can release what's no longer serving you, the stuff, stagnant shit that's holding you back, and actually take aligned action towards cultivating what you truly desire. So if that is at all interesting to you, please check out the link below for the Allowing workshop live Tuesday, December 3rd at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And if you can't make it live, no worries. Sign up anyway, and I will send you the free replay. I'm super fucking excited for this powerful workshop, and I can't wait to share it with you. Without further ado, let's dive into this powerful interview with Fritz Macasa, who specializes in training hypnotherapists and wellness coaches to achieve faster, deeper, and lasting client transformation using neuroscience, psychology, and somatic principles, with a focus on uncovering root causes, breaking through client blocks, and delivering personalized results. Fritz equips practitioners with the tools to confidently move beyond scripts, audios, and outdated techniques. Known for her practical, no-nonsense approach, Fritz designs trainings that prioritize real-world application and efficiency. They empower practitioners to tackle tough client cases, simplify sessions, and create impactful breakthroughs without the stress. For those ready to upskill, gain confidence, and become the go-to expert in their field, Fritz offers the strategies, community, and support to make it happen. Welcome, Fritz. I am so fucking excited to have you here today. Well, welcome to the Magic is in You podcast, Fritz Macasa. I am so excited to have you here today. So, just to give you a little backstory, Fritz and I actually were in a group coaching mastermind together a few years ago now,
Yes.
and that's how we actually met. And I have watched and witnessed Fritz completely transform from the inside out over the last few years. And I am so excited to talk to you today, Fritz, to hear about your experience of how you've tuned in, tapped in, turned on the magic within inside of you and like really completely transformed your life. So, Fritz, is there a moment in time that you can take us back to that kind of planted the seed for the transformation of where you're at today?
Yeah, so that moment was actually, I would say, exactly 2 years ago. And that's when
Ooh.
like where we were like in that mastermind together. So it was
Mm-hmm.
really around that time. And to be honest, it was the worst time of my life. Yeah, so it
Yeah.
was the worst time of my life. I was going through at that time a divorce. And so at that time, like my spark was so low. And so that really was what ignited it, right? Like and realizing that, like yes, I'm so low, but I'm not gonna choose to keep going down the rabbit hole, right? And I was like, fuck this. There's only one way and it's up, right? And
Yes.
like it really like there was a moment in time where it was just so bad. Like I had a hard time getting out of bed. Like, and I'm not like that. Like I am like very vibrant. I am like
Mm-hmm.
very high achieving. But like at that point I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. There's only one way, right?
Yeah.
And it's to go up. And so that was definitely the catalyst and like that choice and that like going from completely low to like deciding that nope, we are going to change things around and we have the power to do it. And I think that was really that moment in time. And I would say it was exactly, it's funny enough, exactly 2 years ago, around this time.
Wow. Yeah. And I noticed how you said that, like, obviously that's a huge traumatic, like, big transition going through your divorce. But then
Yeah.
you mentioned how you made a really intentional decision of, this isn't how it's going to be from here on out.
Yeah.
Things are going to change. So,
Yes.
what was something that in that decision, was that just like
Yeah.
a light bulb moment for you, or was there something that catalyzed that decision for you?
Yeah. It was watching myself going through that low, right? Like it was
Yeah.
just like I was already low and then I went down lower. And I was
Mm.
like, it just felt so terrible, like everywhere, like mentally, emotionally, physically. And so it wasn't that one moment, it was kind of like the transition down and like
Mhm.
that really, really low point that I never felt before, that I never ever want to feel again. And kind of just that like that seeing myself dip down lower and just yeah, I guess it would be both like seeing myself lower and then
Mhm.
that decision of like I'm in that low point and I'm like no. And it was like that no that made me start to want to get back up. So yes, yes and no. Like it was a
Mhm.
slow, like it wasn't like a huge drop down. It was more like a gradual down, and just that one moment in time. And it really was that in bed. I was like, am I just gonna stay here in bed until 11 a.m. or am I am I gonna choose to empower myself, right? And so like yes, it was that moment, and it was harder than than I thought. Because it like it's just kind of like when we drive that first 0 to like 20 kilometers is the biggest like
Mhm.
um force, right? And so just during that and like gradually over the next few weeks just trying to get myself up that hill, and then like the momentum started, and that's when like that decision was like, okay, good, we've done this, let's go.
Oh my gosh, I have chills as you're saying that. And just like how you were describing being in bed and really intentionally and consciously deciding like
Yeah.
this is enough. Like I'm not going
Yeah.
to allow myself to continue on this trajectory where I'm at. Like I'm ready to
Yeah.
make a change. So what
Yeah.
were some of the things that you what were some of the, I know you made some massive fucking changes in your life, but what were, people don't know though. So what were some of
Yeah.
the changes that you started to cultivate to actually get from that 0 to 20 kilometers?
Yeah. So I am someone, no, I knew myself. I knew this personality trait of myself where I just need to be challenged, right? And
Yeah.
I had, because I was in that low, I hadn't been doing that. And so I was like, let's do some challenging things to prove to ourselves, like to prove to myself that I can like really do and accomplish things because I haven't had that pattern for months. Um, and so the big change was really, and this was like it's divine timing, right? About
Mm-hmm.
everything, and there was an opportunity for me to become a conversational hypnosis trainer, and
Ah.
so I was like, this is one sign. Challenging myself in business, and it actually, yeah, it was definitely around that time, and actually over the past few months, I have had inklings of like, Fritz, you need to do this. But obviously, I ignored it because it was too scary.
To
But
become a conversational hypnosis trainer.
that one, and also like a few months ago, a few months before that experience of like the lowest low, one like I have an aunt who is my mom's sister, so like a
Mm-hmm.
biological aunt, and she lives in Sydney, Australia. And so at this time, I'm Canadian, so I've pretty
Mm-hmm.
much spent most of my life in the Toronto area. And so I was there during this time, and of course, my aunt found out about the divorce, and she was there during our wedding, and she just casually planted the seed and was like, you can just come here and, I'll take care of you.
Oh.
And I was like, well, maybe, right? And so
Yeah.
I will consider this, right? And so like that was really the seed that was planted around that time. So I was like, I'm gonna become a trainer. And then after, obviously with like there's some logistics about the divorce. And once that settled and once we settled that, I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna fly to Australia one-way ticket. And I've been here since.
And so, oh, I have chills again. What an incredible opportunity and gift that your aunt had for you, but also the
Yeah,
balls to fucking take action on that opportunity for you
yeah,
to buy a one-way ticket. How long has it been now
yeah.
that you've been in Sydney?
So it's November 2024 now, and I've been in Sydney. I mean, I'm not in Sydney now, but I'm in Australia.
Uh-huh.
So I arrived in Sydney June of 2023, so a year and a
Oh,
half.
oh, that's incredible. So cool.
Yes.
So in this time frame, your aunt offered this
Yeah.
incredible experience and opportunity for you, and you also decided to take your career and your business and like really
Yeah.
challenge yourself to become not just adding to your repertoire of working with actual
Yeah.
clients, but actually
Yeah.
become training.
Yeah.
So how did you dive into the conversational hypnosis
Yeah.
training
Yeah.
trainer training, excuse me?
Yeah. So at around that time, I was already doing it. So I
Hmm.
already had the methodology like in place for over a year or two, and I like completely just fell in love with it. It's me. I think this is the way of the future. I think that like it's really, really powerful. Um, and And so when I just dived into that, it just made sense. Like it made sense with regards to the big picture plans that I have for myself. Like they're really challenging, like, oh shit, like are you like really Fritz, you're gonna do this type goals?
Yes.
That are so, so scary. Yeah, and just like training in it and like having the students, and it's just a next level impact that I never thought would be possible. And so that was exactly what I needed, like to go from low to being like seeing myself as this like really powerful, magical human being.
So not only was the actual technique that you were using making you feel powerful, but like
Yeah,
recognizing that you could see yourself even more powerful leading the
yeah.
leaders.
Yes, exactly. Teaching it and helping them make a bigger impact. Like it was just so heartwarming and powerful.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's incredible. So, and as you were becoming a trainer, what
Yeah.
other kind of things did you add into your life to bring your spark back, to tap back into your magic as you were like challenging yourself in a completely new environment, like
Yeah,
literally
yeah,
across the other side of the world, but also into a new environment in your career?
yeah,
What were some of the other things that you added in there to be able to like calibrate yourself and
yeah.
to ground yourself and really tap into the magic that I see so vibrantly today?
Oh, thank you. Definitely prioritizing my health. And
Mm.
so, funny enough, after that time and around this time, I don't know what you're doing, Kelsey, this magical shit, because funny enough, around this time I started, so in terms of health, I've always been like an inner yogi. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I've always had that draw, like I've been drawn to that practice, for a while. And even though I'm not consistently on the mat, I still really apply the principles, that I've learned.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so around that time 2 years ago, it was really, it was a lot of lessons to really listen to my intuition. And one of the first things is like get back to yoga, right? Get back to yoga, do the thing again. And so I got to yoga around that time, which is really, really perfect to really help me tune into my body again. Because I
Mhm.
had lost so much connection with myself, not just mentally, but like physically. Like it was so strange going back into yoga and not being able to do the things I used to do because I became like not just deconditioned, but just disconnected with myself based on like, and I take full responsibility, like for the things that happened, right? Like the shit that
Right.
happened,
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
me. And so I started yoga again, and it was really around that time, like I trained to become a trainer and I trained to become a yoga teacher. And so it
That's
was
right.
around that time. So really teaching for me is, I think, the next level thing. And I think that's what I was, called to do. So that was how, like that was one of the things that I added that was so transformational. And it really got me back into who I was. Because when we're in relationships, especially if, it doesn't turn out as expected, we can't, like, for me particularly in my experience, I really lost who I truly was, like just lost track. And so getting back into yoga and that philosophy of just being grounded in the body and being very mindful, that really just helped me to embody like the trainer and like the power. I was like, oh shit, like I'm starting to feel that spark again. So yeah.
Oh, it's a yoga teacher training is such a powerful experience,
Mm,
to say the least. Going
yeah,
deep, like obviously learning how to become a teacher, yoga teacher is
yeah,
one thing, but when
yeah,
you're in a yoga teacher training, you are uncovering layer after layer after layer of yourself that you haven't seen or witnessed potentially ever.
yeah,
And allowing yourself to, like you said, come back home to your body, back home to
yeah,
yourself after,
yeah,
I don't want to say getting lost. That doesn't seem like the
yeah.
right term, but just like being fully
Chaos.
in, oh, sure. Yeah. Chaos. Maybe that's a better
Yeah,
term. Yeah. Of
yeah,
the relationship. And
yeah,
so as you did your YTT and became a
yeah,
trainer
yeah,
for conversational
yeah,
hypnosis,
yeah,
how did you start applying these in your life? You said you started to become more
yeah.
mindful with yoga. How did you start like actually integrating these into your everyday?
Yeah, great question. And so, um, for me, it was building up that discipline to first to take care of myself, right? So like that daily practice, because I ignored that for a long time. So building up that daily practice was the first thing. And I just love the principles of, being present within the discomfort, right? And so like when we're holding our stretches and our mind goes right? When we're holding poses and we're like shaking, it's like, how can you be present in that moment? Because we have so much to learn, in that discomfort, right? Of like our brains freaking out and saying, no, no, we're not doing this. And you like saying, no, no, we are, right? And so just learning that skill over and over and over, like just really helped me take control myself, right? And learn more about myself. And so that, like, just being more mindful, I'm definitely a lot better now. But that was challenging at the beginning. So that's just like, that was my goal. Like, am I doing what I said I was going to do? Am I following through on my promises that I made to myself? Because I also hadn't done that during that time, right? Like, I completely ignored my intuition. And so, like, my my question throughout the whole entire time was like, how can I just follow through on what I said I would do today?
Damn, that is so fucking powerful. Seriously, like keeping the promises you make to yourself
Yeah,
is where all of our self-trust is really truly
yeah,
lies and really truly
yeah,
is built. And also being able to take those challenges on the mat, off the mat, and
yeah,
recognizing that you can get through the discomfort even if you're
yeah,
shaky and wobbly and all over the
yeah,
place. Like that's where we build strength, right? We build strength in
yeah,
the wobble, both on and off
yes,
the mat.
yes,
That's so powerful. And so when you were when you were allowing the discomfort both on and off the mat,
yeah,
and then also really building that daily practice to build the self-trust back within
yeah,
yourself, how did conversational hypnosis start to take play within this and like help support and bolster all of the trust that you're building within yourself and all of these changes that were being created, all the strength that you were building within yourself? How did that help that?
yeah. So it's really funny because the principles of conversational hypnosis and like yoga and mindfulness are very, very intertwined. It's just, a different way to get to Rome.
Ooh.
And so how I did that was asking questions. And now, that was like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Now I've evolved it into something that's me. Like, I don't call it conversational hypnosis anymore. Like, I've like made it my own. But that was really because I've added these like yoga principles, like the principles within and mindfulness and like my nerdy nervous system person. Like, I've made this like my own, which is cool. So that's how it evolved. But it really just started off with learning how to ask myself questions and not allowing myself off the hook if I don't like the answer, right? Like,
Ooh.
because that was the thing that I really sucked at. I was like, I would avoid the truth, um like good and or bad. Like, there was a moment in time where I just did not have healthy coping mechanisms when it comes to eating, right? Like, I emotionally ate, and I had to sit my ass down with myself and be like, Fritz, what are you doing? Like, you are smarter than this. So what are you running away from? Like, what's happening right now, right? Why are you choosing this, right? Like, you're damaging yourself. And so being honest with those answers, like, those were really, really hard and really like confronting, but it's the reason why I'm here today.
And having the bravery, the courage, the balls to like ask yourself those hard questions and not then run away from the answer. Like you were saying,
Yeah,
like how maybe a question might pop to your mind, but it's easy to, oh, divert. I'm just going to look over
yeah,
here and ignore
yeah,
that. I even thought
yeah,
about that.
yeah. Let's
Um,
let's just doom scroll on our phone instead.
Right. Oh, distraction. Here's some tasty food. Here's some scrolling. Here's some other something,
Yeah,
something, something. Oh my
yeah,
goodness. And so as you were asking yourself these hard questions and kind of like pinning yourself down, like, no,
yeah,
you get to answer this for
yeah,
not just for like this moment, but for your future self.
yeah.
I mean, I can kind of maybe guess, but what did that actually feel like? Because sometimes it's hard when you're in the
Yeah,
trenches of transformation.
yeah, terrible.
Yeah, terrible. Yeah, fair.
It felt terrible. There were a lot of tears. There was a lot of anger, right?
Yeah.
And really, what I've learned is to just allow it to be there without making meaning, right? Of course,
Yeah.
if like I did not follow through on my promises, then I would be mad at myself, right? Like, if it would be the same with a friend. Like, if we had a best friend and they didn't follow through on their promises, it is a normal response to be disappointed and to
Yeah.
be angry because it's more, and I just allowed myself to do that, and literally just allowing myself to like have temper tantrums what like was freeing, it was really freeing because I hadn't done that before. I didn't give myself the permission to do that, right?
Yeah, to actually like feel fully all of your emotions as they're
Yeah,
coming up rather than like letting them get stuck in your body and in your
yeah,
being by trying to
yeah,
stuff them down or shove them off to the side.
yeah, yeah.
Oof.
I was a pro. I was a pro of like, yeah, let's keep this shit down. Like, we don't know this.
Yeah, totally. And so as you described, it felt fucking terrible.
Yeah,
Um for example, somebody is listening to this right now who
yeah,
is in this avoidance pattern where they've maybe pondered one of these tough questions a time or two or 1,000
yeah,
times maybe, but they haven't had quite the courage yet, the bravery yet to actually sit with themselves in that moment, in that hard time as they're going
yeah,
through this. What would be your like best advice for somebody who's in the trenches right now and just kind of
yeah,
starting to uncover and peek into the dusty dark corners, as I like to say,
yeah,
and allow themselves to be there?
yeah. This is a great question. And um, the best answer I have, which really just came from my experience as well. First off, I would consider myself an introvert. Okay. I love my own company. Like,
Yes.
and yes, so I am an introvert, but at that really low moment in time, the best thing that I did was to reach out to a community felt that I felt safe with. So for me, that was yoga. Like that was the first thing. As humans, our nervous systems are reliant on other nervous systems, right? And so if you can find a community where, maybe you don't even have to talk about your problems. I didn't, right? Like I didn't. I was just there to have like that support, right? Like that, um, just to be with others who will lift you up, who will
Yeah.
help you go from here to like even just like a tiny bit, right? And so that could be anything. It might not be yoga for you, it might be like a Zumba class or like a kickboxing class or something, right? Or anything, right? Or painting or whatever. So find what you truly like first, like what fills you up, what has done that for you before. It could be something artistic, and just go in a class with others who share the same loves and values as you. And you can start from there because then that will cultivate that safety within you first. And you can kind of like borrow other people's
Yeah.
energy to fill your own up. And then at that moment in time, once you feel more full, then you'll have the safety within you and trust to then answer those questions.
I really like that because that wouldn't have come to my mind first off. And
Yeah,
just like understanding that when you surround yourself with community, it's not
yeah,
like we are herd animals and we
yeah,
are affected by the people that we surround ourselves with. So when
yeah,
we can surround ourselves with a community where our nervous system, where we feel safe, just to
yeah,
even be in, whether
yeah,
that, like you said, is art, yoga, some sort of movement, or some
yeah,
sort of other community, just a
yeah,
community that we feel safe in so that we
yeah,
can feel safe in ourselves to then go
yeah,
deeper in
yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And like the community that we were part of, that was really like the support that I received there. I'm still super grateful for because I did ask for support in that group and I received it, right? I'm still friends with, one of my great friends and every week we chat, right? And so like I said, I'm an introvert, like I would rather see myself, but that really was a big thing. And like my conversational hypnosis community, like the mentors I have and the community there, they were really the big catalyst and like they helped push me up even though they probably didn't realize it just but just being there with me was
Mhm.
and being part of that community was like just enough to fill the battery back up so that I can start taking over and
Yeah,
doing hard
because
things.
absolutely. Because when we are in a community, we naturally want to
Yeah,
excuse me, like biologically, our bodies, our brains, our beings want to
yeah,
assimilate to this community. So if we put ourselves
yeah,
in a community of where we want to go, we
yeah,
naturally want to be part of that herd. So we naturally
yeah,
start to create those shifts in ourselves and in our life.
yeah,
Super,
exactly.
super powerful. And I really like that you shared that from like the introverts perspective, because I am
Yeah.
definitely more introverted as well,
Yeah.
and am just happy as pie just practicing yoga at
Yeah.
home on my own.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But it always feels so different and so good to get into the
Yeah.
studio, into the community, and actually create those connections.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's a big game changer.
Yeah, 100%. So as you are like turning your lights back on, or turning your light back
Yeah.
on, really tapping
Yeah.
back into your magic, you created the community, you asked yourself the hard fucking questions, you got way the hell outside of your comfort zone, you challenged
Yeah.
yourself by doing new scary things like moving all the way across the other side of the world and training as a trainer.
Yeah.
How has your business exploded? Like, obviously you have completely transformed from the inside out,
Yeah.
but I've also
Yeah.
witnessed your business really like grow and evolve like
Yeah.
crazy over the last few years.
Yeah, 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 it did. So my business this year has so far three times last year.
Yay!
So, yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you. So we still have December, so
Still
I'm
more.
there's more opportunities for growth. But yeah, so far it feels really good to say that, my business has 3x since last year. And even before that, I think it like, because that year, 2 years ago was just super terrible. Right. So I think I doubled or something like that last year, and then I then tripled it this year. So and it can only get better, right? So that's really the biggest things. I'm creating more impact. I just finished my training, my 3-day training with my students yesterday, and it feels so damn good to like see them light up. Like, not because we do a lot of demos, right? That's how I
Mhm.
teach. I'm very practical with teaching, and so it's really cool to see the growth in them in just 3 days, and them developing a really like intense skill set. It's just so satisfying, and they're like, them lighting up and saying, oh my god, I can't wait to help more people. It's like the ripple effect is like, I'm watching it, and it's so fulfilling.
Oh, that's so profound. So what, and like watching your students really create that transformation in just such a short period of time, which is
Yeah.
part of the trainings that you've developed. Like you said, you've
Yeah.
kind of, or you've taken conversational hypnosis and you've created your own unique, very specific trainings within that.
Yeah.
So how tell me about this beautiful new training that you have cultivated and developed. Like, how is it helping your clients create such a profound ripple?
Yeah. And so I use a lot of principles. So a lot of principles of yoga and mindfulness, and conversational hypnosis, specifically asking questions.
Yes.
Because of that was what really transformed me, like having those very difficult questions. And my students, and the methodology that I use if a client comes to me, is uncomfortable. Like, it really is uncomfortable, because we ask these hard, tough questions that are designed to have the transformation that I had, right? But because it really starts from that. So it's just kind of replicating the things that have worked from my journey. And of course, I messed up and fucked things up a lot. So I was like, okay, we're going to skip all of those things. And really, it's just like, if you were to receive, it's the methodology that I have now is called neurosync. So if you were to have a neurosync session with me, or one of my students, it's really just like, kind of like this. It's conversational. It's just like you asking me questions, but obviously in a more intentional therapeutic sense. But
Mhm.
it's very chill. It's very like this. It's very asking questions, and it's just allowing for a natural process to occur between the practitioner and the client, which is just a connection. Like, and the biggest thing I teach is, how can you connect with your client so profoundly that you just heal, like help them heal by your questions. Like, that is really the methodology.
Oh, that's so powerful and so flowy and natural. And
Yeah.
when we're in that flowy and natural state, I would imagine that the clients and your students are getting
Yeah.
huge results because they're
Yeah.
allowing themselves to actually integrate and be in it in
Yeah.
this present moment
Yeah.
and without
Yeah.
escaping or running away.
Yes, exactly. And we will, and our clients will. And that's what I tell my students. I'm like, your student, your clients are going to run away. You're going to keep them in the room.
Yeah, because that's where the transformation happens,
Yeah,
is within those answers, because you can't unknow what you know, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
So obviously you've moved to the other side of the world, you've
Yep.
transformed your business. How has your personal life like really just blossomed in the last few years as you've gone on this journey through the divorce, through your moving, through
Yeah.
your business exploding?
Yeah. So personally, my health has definitely improved a lot. I've lost the extra baggage weight, mental, physical, emotional weight that I've gained through that process. So I just feel really good in my body. I feel very healthy. And so I'm moving a lot and it's very natural. And personally, before, like when I was in my 20s, I moved for punishment to look
Mhm.
a certain way. None of that shit's happening these days. I'm like, I want to perform. I want to become a high performer. I want to lift heavy shit. I want to flip myself upside down just because I want to do it. Right.
Yes.
And so that has really changed. And just, I'm still moving, but um, the intention behind it is so much more empowering now. And obviously it's just transformed. I look different. I actually love the way I look now. And I've just really just accepted myself personally. And my decisions are made based on what I want to do, not what everyone else does. So like at first, I came in here to Sydney with my aunt, and I stayed with her for like a year, and now I've moved again. Another challenge, I moved again. I'm
Mhm.
in Brisbane now, and I absolutely love it. It's just like I'm thriving here because I'm trusting myself.
Oh my gosh, that's huge. And like cultivating that physical health, and not from a place of punishment, like you mentioned,
Yeah,
but from that place of self trust and self love, and like just being able to be grateful for how you can move and how strong
yeah,
you do feel. And
yeah,
like you said, flipping yourself upside down and lifting heavy shit and feeling that
yeah,
power from that physical transformation, but feeling
yeah,
that inner power from the physical
yeah,
transformation, not just the actual physical
yeah,
transformation.
yeah,
That's huge. And so,
yeah,
like, when you're thinking about your relationships outside of the profound effect, or like the profound change that you've had within yourself, like how have your
yeah,
relationships in your life changed as you've
yeah,
gotten to know yourself, love yourself, trust yourself, really tap in, tune in, turn on your magic within your side of yourself?
yeah.
How do the relationships in your life feel now?
Yeah, very solid. Like that's
Ooh.
probably the word that I would use. I'm still very much in touch with my best friends back in Canada. And it's a friendship where, it's just solid. Like we don't need to talk every single day. Like maybe we'll catch up once a month or so, but like that is enough because there's a solid presence there.
Mm.
And that obviously that wouldn't have been there. That probably wouldn't have stayed if I didn't do the inner work, right? I just ran away and was like, fuck this, see you guys later. But I do have core relationships in my friendships that are solid. I love the relationship I have with my family here and my aunt for going on holidays and meeting each other like up here in a few weeks. So it's just a lot more fulfilling. And I feel very very supported even if they're not here physically. Like does that make sense?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
even though like, I'm in Brisbane, I'm more north of Australia and my family is in Sydney, like I still feel a solid presence and trust that if for some reason I get myself into trouble, which I will, that they're there anytime, right? And just that feeling, that solidity and support feels so good because that was really missing for a long time, like just that solidity and that support.
Yeah, I could even hear it in your voice when you said solid. Like it felt so sure and grounded and true within how you were describing that. And having that sensation of solidity within your relationships, to know that you can be yourself and like
Yeah,
show up fully and wholly and still feel that support, but knowing that that started with creating the foundation within
Yeah.
yourself is so profound and
Yeah.
so magnetic and transformative, and also just probably feels really good within yourself. Like you're not relying on the others to create that solidity. It's already
Yeah.
within you.
Yeah, yeah. It feels really like to me, solidity is important. Like I love having that strong foundation. And I think that's why I'm very drawn into like weightlifting, even yoga, like very solid yoga poses.
Yeah.
And I like warrior two is very solid, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
love that pose because it just feels solid. And like that is how I want to feel in my daily life, just solid and grounded. Um, because a lot of amazing things can happen from this place.
Absolutely. Oh, I really like that. Really, or just like bringing it back to asana and the physical practice of
Yeah,
yoga, and like not just the solidity in your relationships, but
yeah,
recognizing how you can even feel that solidity in different asana poses, and
yeah.
just like being able to come back to your body and that feeling of solidity at any
Yeah,
time, just through a little bit of movement or just through a little bit of
yeah,
intention. So, what
yeah,
kind of, for example, what kind of questions would you ask yourself
yeah,
since this is how you started your transformation? What kind of
yeah,
questions would you ask yourself to come back to that solidity, to come back to yourself? Say, because life's, say when
yeah,
life is challenging now, what kind of questions are
yeah,
you asking yourself to come back to yourself?
yeah. It's gonna vary and it will be very different from what the hell how I'm responding or reacting to
Sure.
things. But usually I avoid. So I like to flee.
Oh, yes, yes. I
I
know
know
it's,
that I know that about myself, so I can call myself out and I'll just ask myself, what are you avoiding, Fritz?
ooh, I mean, that one stings me. I get that feeling of wanting to avoid for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So I will ask myself that question, like, what are you avoiding? And I have this post-it note, like literally in front of my desk because I hang out here a lot. It has the thing on top and it says, shit, I'm avoiding. And I will write that down to like really embody it. And I will look at it and I will piss myself off because I I'm looking at it and I'm like, we are not doing this anymore, right? Like we're not avoiding. And so it's just like that reminder and that intention of like, yes, I am avoiding it. I'm gonna explore it. And we trust ourselves enough to just fucking do it. I'm just gonna go after it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I mean, that right there, like, shit, I'm avoiding having that
Yeah,
reminder right in your face, A,
yeah,
so powerful, and
yeah,
B, having that trust within yourself so that you can look at that note in a
yeah,
way where it's powerful, empowering rather than
yeah,
disempowering.
yeah,
How did you create that transformation from, like, for example, I know even now that would still feel very triggering and disempowering sometimes for me,
yeah,
that like,
yeah,
okay, what the fuck am I avoiding? Shit that I'm avoiding, like looking at that
yeah,
list and being like, fuck, that's a big list right now.
yeah, yeah,
Like, how did you get to the point where it feels like an empowering question versus a
yeah,
disempowering?
yeah. I have the first thing that I did was accept myself with regard to how I responded to things. And so, especially before, I used to shame myself for getting angry,
Oh,
or
me too.
I had toxic positivity as well, and saying, "Oh no, it's not that bad. Maybe I should be more grateful." And there's a time and place for that. But there are definitely some times where we need some tough love, right? And so, and I am a tough love person. So, like, that is really me, and like accepting that part of me. So, if I am, like one of the things that I avoided was like write content. Like that was one of the things, right? Like so
Mm-hmm.
I wrote that down and then I had a conversation with myself and I was just like, so what are you avoiding in the content, right? And like just going through that process of going, yeah, like I don't want to do it because I don't know what to say or whatever. And like that excuse comes up. And then will continue to ask myself and be like, but what are you actually avoiding? So like really what I was avoiding there was the feeling of discomfort knowing that the content I'm about to write is maybe vulnerable or or like a really polarizing type of content that I want to post out there. And so it's just like I'm avoiding that feeling of being polarizing, of potentially being misunderstood by an audience, right? And so if like when I actually get to that root of what exactly I'm avoiding, like that in and of itself will shift on its own and freeing, which
Mhm.
then will help me to actually take action on it. So that's really how I got myself into doing that and not shaming myself. And because sometimes I talk to myself like this, it's just like, come on, like the fuck, get the fuck, sit your ass down and just do it. Right, like you can do this. And so and allowing myself to just be more playful. Like to me, that is like a playful thing, right? How I talk to myself. And it can always get better. But as long as I can say that I'm coming from a place of love and wanting myself to grow and succeed instead of like beating myself up. Because I used to be like you're full of shit, Fritz. Like you are like shame on you for not doing this list. Like, why are you doing this? You should have done this by now. Like, we're not doing that. Like, I'm not doing that anymore. It's more like, come on, like, you can do it. Like, just go.
Yeah. So really switching from that place of like shame, blame, kicking your own ass into that
Yeah.
place, you called it tough love, but it's still
Yeah.
from a place of love and
Yeah.
curiosity and
Yeah.
kind of support and almost like, I don't want to say teasing, but kind of that like
Yeah.
joking way, that
Yeah.
lighthearted, tough love
Yes.
way
Yeah.
versus kicking your own ass and shaming
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a huge distinction there because a lot of
Yeah.
people, I think, well, I know for myself, I'm really good at kicking my own ass or have been in
Yeah.
the past. I'm certainly it's night and day better than I used to be. But
Yeah.
being able to release the shame so that you can get curious and come from
Yeah.
a place of that like kind of playful love, tough love
Yeah.
space. That's super,
Yeah.
super powerful. That's
Yeah.
incredible. Oh,
Yeah. Not perfect. There are still some like some evil thoughts that are in
totally.
there. But I mean, that's like the point is not to be perfect, just to be aware and choose differently. Right.
Yes, absolutely. And also just like recognizing that you're human and it's
Yeah.
okay. Like it's okay
Yeah.
if one day is not perfect, you get to
Yeah.
start again tomorrow. Absolutely. So what's been one of like your favorite transformations within yourself or one of your favorite things that's changed over the last few years within yourself for yourself that just like lights you the fuck up that you're so proud of yourself for right now?
Yeah, definitely for me, my business is a big one, because it really is also a reflection of the personal growth that I had, right? And it's a
Totally.
little bit more tangible. So I am definitely proud of how I've grown my training business, and will continue to grow. And building an audience, breaking the mold. That is definitely something that I am proud of.
Yes. I mean, you should be. Like I said, witnessing your transformation over the last few years has been so inspiring. Um, it's really just been magical watching your transformation going from we met when you were still married, living in Toronto.
Yeah, yeah.
And this was, I think before you had, I didn't think you had any like divorce plans on the table at that
Yeah,
point. So it's been a
yeah,
huge transformation
yeah,
over the last few years and being able to witness that also like from your business and the impact that you're creating in your business and growing your ripple effect has been just really profound.
yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Well, and I just appreciate you being willing to share this journey because not only are you into yoga, but you're talking about weightlifting. And in the last couple of
Yeah,
years, you've gotten into CrossFit. Is that right?
yeah, it's not officially the brand, but it's at
Okay.
the exercises are very much like the conditioning type exercises. Yes.
That's awesome. So how has
Yeah.
I suppose it's not the brand, but the CrossFit style
Yeah.
exercises like added to this transformation for you?
It was amazing because we talked about community, and when I moved to Sydney, I found the best community.
Ah,
And so they're called Fit District Holla. Holla to them.
yes.
And it was one of those things where like obviously they were located centrally where I could just walk there. So like no excuse, right? I gave myself something that is like not an excuse. Like if you can walk 8 minutes there, like you can do it, right? And so and what's interesting is that yes, the exercises are different because it's more weightlifting and conditioning, and even cardio focused at times. But the community there was so supportive, and they were the type of people who would just lift you up, right? And would also challenge you in ways where you didn't think. Like the coaches there would be like, you could probably lift heavier. And I'm like, I don't know. Like it's so great to have that like that push and that encouragement from them. And also, even though like my yoga practice wasn't consistent, and even though it's not that point yet, but I still apply the principles, right? Like of discomfort. Like I am in this machine and I'm in here for 45 minutes and I hate it at, 30 seconds. And so it's applying those principles that I learned from yoga, right? Like how can I just be present in this moment and breathe? And so yes, that has really been transformational.
So really allowing the yoga is not just asana. It's not just a physical
Right.
practice. It's a full,
Yeah.
full inside and out practice. And so
Yeah.
allowing that mindfulness and the breath and and the presence to come
Yeah.
into the motions and the movements and the trainings that you were doing
Yeah.
there, it sounds super powerful. And also
Yeah.
the back to the community, like how you started
Yeah.
the, how, or what you mentioned at the beginning was so transformative
Yeah.
for you is having that supportive community there who that you can go to. eight
Yeah.
minute walk away, no
Yeah.
excuses, really setting yourself up for success and allowing
Yeah.
yourself to ditch the excuses, quite frankly.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Because that other side of that 8 minute walk, even though I feel like I'm dying in those exercises, you always improve, right? You learn about yourself, you get better, and you connect with others, others who, like I learned a lot from being with like athletes, right? Like in business too, specifically. I was like, oh damn.
Ooh, like tell us one of the things that like really stood out to you learning from
Yeah,
athletes and in this training, like
yeah.
how did you apply one of the things that you learned from them into your business?
Yeah. So a few things. I used to get really intimidated by them because growing up as a kid, I was never really like athletic. Like I danced a little bit, but like for fun. Like I never really had like a solid training program. And so seeing myself as that in the community that I went to is like very open, right? They call everyone an athlete. And I'm like that identity shift at first was like, I don't know, like I'm short of breath after 10 minutes here. Like I feel like I'm dying, especially at the beginning. Like I didn't consider myself as that. So it was more the identity piece, right? And they were really good at like helping us just cultivate, like you are here, you are doing the work, you are an athlete, right?
Mm.
And so that like that mentality, I definitely I still do it now, but in my business, I was like, because there's like voices, right? In my head. I'm like, am I really a business owner? Am I really a trainer? So I'm like, I am training. So I am a trainer. Okay. Like I am a business owner. I'm damn good at it, right? Like and just cultivating that like that identity piece, it's been a big game changer.
Oh, I love that. Partly because that's not at all what I expected from that question. And also, it's so fucking powerful witnessing that identity shift because
Yeah.
identity, how we identify ourselves,
Yeah.
is the box that we put ourselves or
Yeah.
the boxless area that we put ourselves
Yeah.
in life. And it's these boxes that we put ourselves in that oftentimes hold us back within
Yeah.
our body, within our mind, within our relationships, in our
Yeah.
businesses. That's what how we interact with the world is when we put ourselves in those boxes. And so when you can
Yeah.
shift your identity to what you desire and really lean
Yeah.
into that, when you're putting in the action, when you're taking
Yeah.
action, putting in the motion or like doing the things, making it work
Yeah.
and allowing yourself to improve and get better every day
Yeah.
and just owning that fucking identity.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah,
Oh,
that was a huge game changer. I actually haven't really embodied that like identity shift until I was there. Because Yeah, that was like, to me, like it didn't make sense that I would be called an athlete, right? Because at that point I was actually quite out of shape too. So like I really didn't consider myself. But if like you are in that community of like, yeah, you are, you're here. So like that was really empowering.
Oh, absolutely. So fucking empowering. Between the community and also the fact that they really empowered you to take on that identity and the
Yeah.
identity and it in a positive way, right?
Yes. Yeah. Of
Um,
course.
oh, that's so, so rad. I really,
Yeah.
really enjoy that perspective and that learning. What's one other, because that one was so much fun. I want to know one
Yeah.
other like takeaway that really helped come from that gym, from that community,
Yeah.
from that experience that you've been able to integrate into your business.
Yeah. Oh, good question. The fact that every day is going to be different.
Ooh.
Um, Especially as like us women and specifically with training, right? Because I've made some really great friends there, and we would obviously, it's weightlifting, so we know how much we can lift, right? And so if for example we have an off day, what I've been like when I connect with like my friends there, I would be like, are you on your period? Like, it's like, what's your hormone, like what are your hormones doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes we can beat ourselves up, especially like there are some parts of our cycle as women where our energy is low because that's how our hormones are shifting,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like accepting yourself at that moment, and showing up as how you are and just accepting it. Like, so if I can only like today, this morning, I probably could have lifted more, but not today, like it was just not my day. And like being okay, I still showed up, I still gave it what I could at that day, accepting that in business is super duper important, especially because the to-do list in business never ends, right? And so if we wake up and we have poor sleep, which happens because we're humans, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we had really really shitty sleep and then we go into our business, and because we had shitty sleep, or like we're not as alert or focused, accepting myself during that day and just doing the best I can, has allowed for actually more productivity because I'm not beating myself up or shaming myself for being tired.
Oh my gosh, that is so profound. Allowing your like obviously taking I love when we learn one thing in one aspect of life and can bring it into
Yeah,
another, but meeting yourself where you're at today,
yeah,
regardless of what happened last week or last
yeah,
year, like is
yeah,
the most powerful thing. That's something I tell my yoga students every single class that I teach is like,
yeah,
meet yourself where you're at today. It's going to look and feel different than it did even
yeah,
yesterday, oftentimes.
yeah, yeah,
And being able to bring it back to business, like you said, so that you don't
yeah,
get stuck in a shame and beating like
yeah,
beating yourself up for whatever in your business. Like you said, the
yeah,
to-do list is never ending. Nate and I
yeah,
always joke, it's the never ending to-do list.
exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a huge integral lesson. Like
Yeah,
both the identity shift and meeting yourself where you're at. Like those are two
yeah,
super, super profound shifts.
yeah,
And so is there anything else that you want to share about your transformation in the last few years of how you've gone from, as you said, kind of your lowest point into
yeah,
this skyrocketing of your business, loving yourself, being solid and grounded in your relationships and in your
yeah,
body, your relationship with yourself. Is there anything that you want to share about this transformation, about this journey, or advice that you have for somebody who's in the midst of this journey, who's on this journey?
yeah. Just know that everything is temporary. That's
I
that's
love that. That,
everything is temporary. Even
yeah.
the good, even the good times, right? So like if you are having a hard time right now, just know this is temporary and you have the power to change it. It's not going to be easy, but everything is temporary. And even if you're doing good, I'm not saying that it's things are going to turn badly, but just know that life is meant to go up and down, right? And
Mhm.
so if you're in a high and you found yourself in a low, which had just happened to me very recently, I was on a good high, had a really bad low. a week and a half ago, and now it's climbing back up. So even though even though that high is temporary and you find that low, just allow yourself to lean into that low, because you are going to then just skyrocket yourself up even higher than you were before. So embrace the highs and lows, really, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And coming back to that presence, like you said, and allowing yourself to remember that it's all temporary and you get to
Yeah.
be here in this moment.
Yeah.
Um, as you've just gone through another low, what were how did you allow yourself to create that momentum again?
Yeah. Just allowing myself to have the temper tantrum.
Oh, feel your fucking feelings. What kind of
Yeah,
magic is that?
exactly. I know. It's like really, it was pretty bad, Kelsey. It was like I'm gonna take a blowtorch and blow everything out. Like I was gonna everything. It was
Fair.
that like really intense emotion. And I know better now. This is something that I can still get better at, but I'm shitty at asking for support. And so this is really something that I get to get better at. And for this particular low, I asked my mentor for support, and I'm like, dude, I am ready to burn this shit down. Like, and I received his support, which I am grateful for. And that really helped me skyrocket back up, because, the past week has been really, really good. I've had one really good milestone in my business. And then I had the best training so far. And one of my students who has been this is her third time training, it was like, Fritz, this is the best training so far. And I'm like, yes. I know, because I almost burned it down. Sorry.
Oh, that's so incredible. And recognizing too that on the other side of a breakdown is
Yeah,
so oftentimes if
yeah,
we allow it, a breakthrough. And like you
yeah,
said, the best training you've ever fucking done. That's
yeah,
incredible. May I ask
yeah,
one more question about this?
yeah, of course.
So you said you allowed yourself to have a temper tantrum. Can you like so oftentimes, for example, myself, I did
Yeah,
not understand that how to feel my rage and my fucking
yeah,
anger for so long in a way
yeah.
that felt safe. How do you do
Mm,
that? How did you experience that last week?
yeah. So what's funny is because I had a lot, like when I was coming out of like that really low and burnout state, because I had repressed all of my anger for so long, and my background also is in nursing. There was a lot
Mhm.
of injustice that I was like, we're not feeling this.
Because you had to
So
put the
that,
face on and go to fucking
yes,
work and help your
exactly.
patients. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So uh, like it's better now, but obviously there is still that anger. Like, and I know that's where it's coming from, and I feel angry now. And so the first thing I did, because I didn't know how to, so I just allowed myself. I'm like, Fritz, like, how can you healthily express your anger? The very first thing that I did like a year and a half ago was I went to a rage room where you just break shit, you know, like you take like bottles and you just throw it on the wall. Very therapeutic. Like, so that was a thing. And now, specifically last week, I um I just allowed myself to say whatever I wanted to say. Like, obviously not to people, but like to myself. And I'm like, I am so pissed off. I don't like this. I don't like that. I don't like this. I don't like that. Like, I don't like how this is going. Like, and I just allowed myself to like express that anger.
Mhm.
And that pretty much immediately shifted it. And sometimes it really is just like moving your body. Sometimes like I'll go here and I'll just like, like do something like this, or the movements, like the workouts that I'm doing, just being intentional. I'm like, I'm so mad right now, I'm just going to harness this energy into this bar that I'm lifting. Like, and
Yes.
being intentional with that, doing that too. So that's really how I shifted. I use my body. I went outside also a lot to ground.
Hmm.
And sometimes I just allowed myself to go on the floor and lay down on the floor to really neutralize that anger. And these are all ways we regulate our anger as well. But for some people who are really good at it, I'm not good at it, but singing can actually also be very helpful if you are a singer.
Ooh,
Yeah.
singing. I mean, I'm not going to torture anybody with my singing voice, but yeah, I hadn't really thought about singing specifically, but I really
Yeah.
even just saying it out loud, like you
Yeah.
were talking about allowing yourself to vocalize it, or
Yeah.
I know for me, anger comes out very, very vocally. I
Yeah.
wasn't, it wasn't like okay to feel anger.
Yeah.
So now when I allow myself to that kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
release has been so
Yeah.
powerful for me. So I even like how you were saying, just allowing it to be there, meeting
Yeah.
yourself where you're at,
Yeah.
vocalizing it, moving your body. If
Yeah.
you're listening to this, Fritz was making like some punching motions and
Yeah.
to like release it out
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah.
And harnessing that within your workouts, within your lifting
Yes.
too, so that you can
Yeah.
have somewhere to put the energy rather than letting it
Yes.
fester and get stuck
Exactly.
inside. Oof.
Exactly. Like you gotta let that shit out. And even like what you're saying, Kelsey, about like just like that noise, right? That you want to make, just like oh, like allowing yourself to just like feel that, because that is what really healthily um shifts that, right? It gets just
Absolutely.
gets it out.
Absolutely. That is so powerful. I really appreciate you sharing that, because I know for me, anger was something that it's taken me a bit to be able to even talk about it, because it was something that
Yeah.
was not okay, or like it was just like that's something that you just don't do. You just like
Yeah.
shove it down, don't do it. You're not allowed to feel that.
Yeah.
That's that. But it's the most natural. It's as natural as
Yeah.
like the feeling of bliss, ecstasy,
Yes.
joy, grief,
Yeah.
pain. It's so natural, and being able to express it in a, or like feel it and express it in a way that's safe for you and also safe for others is so fucking crucial. I also
Yeah.
loved hearing about the rage room. That sounds
Yeah.
delightful.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And with that one, I like they have really, really old computers, the computers from the 90s that like they're like boxy and huge.
Oh,
Because they
yes.
somehow had that, and like you take a baseball bat and just like fucking like go at it, right?
Smash the shit out of it. That's incredible. I'm pretty sure I saw some videos from the rage room from you, and I fucking loved it. I was like, business idea like 898.
Yep, yep.
Oh,
So good.
that's
So
so
good.
good. Well, Fritz, I want to be mindful of your time. So
Yeah.
tell everybody, how can they connect with you? How can they share about what, or like, how can they get into your world? Like, what do you have coming up next? Trainings? Tell us all the things.
Yeah, so right now, all the trainings for 2024 are done, but there are going to be a few in 2025. And you can just get more information if you have me in any one of the platforms. So Instagram or Facebook, usually I'm more active in.
Mhm.
So in one of those, I can be connected. We can connect through there.
Perfect. And I'll have the links in the show notes. And you're doing training starting in 2025? Are you taking on any clients right now, or working with clients, or just specifically focused in on the trainings right now?
I'm focused on trainings, but if I could have one-to-one clients just depending on the time of the year, but it's definitely like I'm open to a few per month, but I'm not
Sure.
actively having one-to-one clients. Mostly the training to have more impact.
Yes. Oh, that's so exciting. Well, thank you so fucking much, Fritz, for coming on today. I appreciate you sharing your journey, your heart, your magic, your light with us today. I know that this conversation is going to have such an expansive ripple, because you have already created this expansive ripple, and this is just another drop in the water to expand this ripple. And I just really appreciate you coming on and sharing so openly and so fully today. Thank you.
Oh, and thank you for your invitation, Kelsey. I'm also grateful to you, and I loved every minute of this. And thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, of course. And like I said before, the links to connect with Fritz will be in the show notes. So check those out. And thank you, everybody, so much for tuning into the Magic is in You podcast. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Take care.